Hello, hello.
Yep. Hi.
Happy Thursday. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It is still our release webinar week, which means we are covering all the latest and greatest things from Telerik, Kendo UI, and productivity, and all the fun stuff. So thank you for being here in our AdCoded Live. I'm your host. Well, I have like 3 different hosts with me today. So I'm Sam Basu, and with me I have Rick Hellwege and Mihail Vladov, or Misho, as we call him. Hey, folks, how are you?
Good. How are you, Sam?
Yeah, we are hanging in there. It's been a week of long talking, a lot of talking. So I'm looking forward to the weekend already. But exciting things happening. And just as we are starting up, our other host has joined. So Andy, if you're ready, I'm going to bring you to internet fame. Here he is. Hey, Andy. All right.
Hi, guys.
Here are the 4 stooges for the next hour. But we are here to. Eva is here. Hey, everyone. Hello. Last day, we do have a big webinar coming up for all the JavaScript folks. The Kendo UI webinar is today at 11 Eastern. That's going to be, I think, 3 or 4 people covering all the goodness in Kendo UI across Angular, React, and Vue, and jQuery. So it should be fun. But this is the stream where we talk about all things productivity. So we started on Tuesday, and we kind of went through the basics. We covered what's new in JustMock, all of the coolness in reporting and report server and TestStudio, and a little bit of Fiddler. I was thinking today we kind of change this up a little bit, kind of put Rick in more of a spot, not that already, because I keep asking him for last minute favors, but maybe we could try to build something which maybe stretches through a little bit of maybe Fiddler, like an API that we could test quickly, and then have Rick consume the same data from a reporting service or a reporting designer perspective. But Misho, we will let maybe you go towards the end to show off maybe some JustMock if we have time. But Andy, do you want to start us off? Just to kind of change things up with TestStudio?
Yeah, sure, Sam. I'd be happy to.
Okay, so over to you whenever you want to share your desktop and walk us through a little bit of what's happening and what's new and hot with TestStudio world.
All right, let me just get the right screen going here, guys. So today, I'm going to take you right through the front door of TestStudio, actually, to start out with. Can you guys see my screen at this point?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes.
So this is normally what you would see in a startup of TestStudio. This is actually the TestStudio for APIs welcome view. You'll see the same exact screen really for the TestStudio for web and desktop. So there's really 2 different executables, one that goes to the TestStudio for APIs and one that goes into the TestStudio we've been showing you that covers the web and desktop and load testing and so forth. So API,
I have not seen this. Is this a standalone app?
Yeah, this is actually dog fooding. You caught me. This is TestStudio is built with our own WPF controls. It's a WPF desktop application. So
nice.
You may recognize some things from that. And there's a couple cool things actually to point out on the startup screen. I mean, first of all, we do have a news feed. You can really see, I'm sorry for folks that are still holding on to Visual Studio 2012 or 2013, but we are ending support for that. But yeah, you can see the news feed here of what's going on. There's a nice case study down here from RevSpring. I would definitely encourage people to look at your recent projects. And also what I like about this is it shows me my software's up to date. We actually do have a service pack coming out, probably, if not by tomorrow, definitely next week. And at that point, my update button will show up here. So TestStudio is always making sure you're up to date. It'll let you know when there's an update available. And you've got some options to, I think I mentioned this, but I didn't show it. You've got options to kind of wait for the official builds, which are 3 to 4 a year. or get into the internal builds. And if you're really focused, especially on web, at getting support for the latest browser versions, you probably want to go with the internal builds. You can think of the official builds as more of the aggregated internal builds. So more full release kind of process for that. So I wanted to show that. Yeah, what do you think?
We make so much stuff. Like, it's good to change things up. Like, I had not seen this or played with this at all. I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah, I figured, we're coming into the front door today, so we'll show people what that looks like, get them familiar. And there's also license management. We're going to be doing some more license options coming up in the future too, like licensing servers. So stay tuned for that. But I also wanted to point out either web or API, when you go in, there's a Get Started tab, and there's actually some built-in projects that you can use to kind of play with, learn, and steal from as well if you wanted to do that. So I was going to take you guys through starting up a little sample project here for the API test. And this will open into, by the way, this is the light view. I've been showing off dark mode, right?
Yay!
Today, the sun has risen. We're back on the light side, I guess, for today. But so this is a look in the environment. Looks pretty familiar, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your panels here for properties and so forth, we can pin and dock. These are the floating WPF panels. So pretty cool, where you can position things, get things out of the way when you don't need them, collapse and pin and all that stuff. But here's our little sample demo project that comes up with this. And there's also a demo app built into this as well. So we can just turn this on.
So Andy, if I can ask you a quick question here.
Yeah,
so when you say a project, like, is this like a Visual Studio type project, or what is this project?
Well, the TestStudio projects basically live in TestStudio and can be exported to Visual Studio, or they could actually be started in TestStudio. I'm sorry, started from within Visual Studio. But when you're talking about API testing, it is its own little monster. So it's not in the Visual Studio integration. And this, I called our little monster because it is sort of the toddler of the group, right? It's the newest part of TestStudio. It's got a nice long roadmap ahead of it, and it's kind of the new kid on the block, if you will, for TestStudio.
Now, were you using this to, because folks, we did a webinar yesterday and also a stream on Tuesday, and those recordings are up. But were you using the same TestStudio setup for doing your Blazor demos, or was it a different one?
Basically, same setup, yeah.
Same, yeah.
So you can have those projects in Visual Studio. You can have them in the standalone, and our standalone environment looks very similar to Visual Studio. Just in the way that the panels work and things like that. So it may seem familiar. But of course, with source control, you can connect the dots together, right? You can have a QA in the standalone environment and developer in the Visual Studio plugin, and they could both be working on the same project.
That's a great point. And Eva in the back room is pointing out today is Global Accessibility Awareness Day. I did not know that. So yeah, light theme or dark theme, whatever floats your boat. I do know, like, the dark theme is actually helpful for vision impairment. So good for us to be supporting both.
For sure. And of course, our WPF controls have accessibility built right in. So that comes with TestStudio as well.
Yeah. Nice. All right. So what did you get? You have a project.
Here's a project, sample application I started up. And you can see that there's a slight difference here in API testing than you see in the project folder structure of the web test. So really, we look at this as sort of the project level. The next folder down, though, rather than just being a folder, is really a test suite or an API run test suite. And then below that, we actually get into the API test level and even into the step level. So in the web project, you have project folder test, and then maybe some code behind files that might be associated with tests. But here you can actually get all the way to the step level just from this project navigation. So we can open up an individual step, for example, and we see it opens up in this tab. You still have the tabbed, so I can kind of go from the test to an individual step. Here you can see really, what's cool about this is we give you options again as far as how you're going to build your tests. You have a record and playback capability, so you can hit record and capture traffic. It has Fiddler core under the hood. You can also import from Fiddler. So if you just like using Fiddler better, you can go over there and do your Fiddler captures there and then import those into TestStudio for APIs. But you can also kind of construct things from scratch. So like if I wanted to just add a step here, I can drop that step in, and let me go back real quick to that. As you can see, there's request verification, set variable, wait, go to, and coded steps. So you do have the ability to code here at any point in time. Built-in IDE, again, if you do get into code. But here I can come over and actually start to kind of put together a request and fill in essentially the body, the headers, all the settings that I want to go with that. We have some built-in authorization options like OAuth 2.0 or basic forms here if you wanted to. Oops, sorry. Forms authentication there if you needed to use that. And oops, sorry, that is an automated test kicking off. I won't tell you what that test does though, but but basically from here we can also add in verifications of value, JSON path verifications, regex as well. You also have some built-in comparison options, your expected outcomes, and I'll show you in a minute how you can add some of these more easily too. And then conditions, which are nice when you're working with the go-to kind of operations, as a conditional sort of fast forward or something like that. Let me go ahead and actually take this back out because I don't want to break what was already here. But you can also see inside of this request, for example, the use of the variables. So here the base URL that's being called from the project level variables. And then you can also have test level and runtime variables as well. And I just actually messed up my base URL, so let me fix that.
So while you're doing this, maybe a broader question here. So like you created this project to maybe try out some APIs. Maybe that's what you're building from your whatever be your backend services. But then would you keep your, let's say you're building an app on top of it, like a Blazor app, would you keep that in the same project or would you make that a different one?
Really what we've seen is the projects are, when we're talking about like a Blazor app, we're going to have a web project for that. And usually a project is related to an application. Sometimes we have larger applications that mean multiple projects. And sometimes we have one project with many applications, but generally speaking, it's kind of project to product, if you will. So I probably for API would have a related API project and a web project for that Blazor application. Because if you'll remember, back in web, you actually have the ability to reach into an API project and pull those into a web test. So you can actually have web automation API requests, web automation, all kind of in the same execution there. So that's a pretty cool function. We call that API test to step.
Okay, looks like you did make a request. You got some access tokens in there, and you got a response back.
Exactly. So we can go through and see the headers, the body, the raw. We also have the JSON formatted, the XML format of the raw as well here. And you can see that we've made a request and received a response. So pretty basic. When we come over to the verifications, I wanted to point out here, there's no verifications on this one yet. But when I ran that, and we go ahead and run that again, might as well, for those that didn't see that. When I ran that, it came back with a status code and a time for me here as well. And that's pretty cool. It gives you some of that timing ability. But to take it a step further, you can just click that plus sign, and now you've added a verification to that request as well. So now we're going to make sure that we're getting the status 200 back when we make this request. And for the timing as well, I might, generally for the timing, it comes in at 2:18. Okay, I'll give it a little bit, I might give it some more time. This is milliseconds here. But, very quickly and easily, you can shore up an API request, checking and asserting along the way to make sure you're getting what you need back from that and that everything's working correctly.
Okay, so this is different and very handy because not only are you hitting an endpoint and getting stuff back, you are actually asserting and you're adding tests along the way to say, am I getting it back within this amount of time? And whatever parameters, like status codes, whatever you're getting back, is that accurate? So this is kind of testing out or adding tests to your API as you go along.
Exactly. Yep.
Interesting.
So here I just lowered that response time, and you can see I got an error, right? I got a failure. So we expected less than 100. It was 217. And here we can see some of that detail as well. So not a whole lot. Obviously, no cool pictures and stuff like we see in the web testing. But hey, it's API.
No, but this is a lot of fun. But I mean, with TestStudio now, you have the ability to run kind of automated tests throughout your entire app lifecycle, like throughout the entire kind of stack, so to speak, because you have tests for your APIs, and then obviously for your web apps, you can have coded tests and manual tests, and the automated tests can run, like you have said many times, headless or with a head. So that's a lot of options.
Yeah, it's really picking up a lot of interest amongst our current customers, and actually bringing some new customers to us as well. They're like, hey, wait a minute, we didn't realize you guys have API testing.
Yeah.
And actually, I have to be honest, I haven't seen it yet, but one of our partners in India just came out with a video on YouTube showing how he's actually worked with SOAP requests or SOAP APIs through Telerik TestStudio's API testing, which, just to be clear, up until that point, we only claim support for web and REST, but potentially, and again, I haven't taken it in and seen it yet, but I will promote it for him so people can go check it out. But yeah, apparently now SOAP is potentially possible as well with this.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about, like, if you strip out the headers and all that stuff, like, it is a request and response. So if you can get to the crux of what the meat of the JSON is, then you can consider other things and other types of APIs that you could test with this.
Exactly.
Super cool, super cool. So anything else you wanted to talk about, Andy?
Yeah, I'll take you just through a couple more features here, because I know we have some bigger projects on today's docket. So, but I want to show you the code behind file. So as I mentioned, you can code in TestStudio in any version of it. We have the IDE built in, and basically, this is one of the things on the roadmap for API testing. That
is there a way, Andy, to bump up the fonts?
Shoot, unfortunately, I don't believe so on this particular view, unless I change my resolution. Yeah, sorry about the tininess here, but let's see if there's any hotkeys that I am not aware of.
Oh, there you go.
There we go. There you go. There is a hotkey there. Okay. So thanks for that. Learn something new every day. So, So yeah, this is an example of something hopefully coming soon from the roadmap, where you could actually data drive an API test. And in web, if you'll recall, if you've seen the previous sessions, I talked about how we like to take things that were traditionally requiring code and elevate those to a point where they're a checkbox or a dropdown, things that people can just click through to make their test a lot more powerful. And so this is something hopefully we'll see in the future for API testing, is bringing this into more of that click-through capability. Because as of now, data driving an API test, there are built-in variables, but if you truly are pulling from a data source that you want to bring in, that would be done through coded step. So one of the uses of this demo, this kind of sample project that I pulled up here, was so that you could come and steal this and go use it for your own testing needs, basically. So did want to show you that.
This is like straight up C#, and you can assert, you can do whatever you want. This is a coded test.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of one more thing, and then the last little bit is, let me go ahead and hit record and show you. So you can construct those requests, and I'm just going to let it grab some traffic. It's probably mostly my TestStudio scheduling server that takes care of executing those tests for me, is the only thing that I'm tracking right now. But But basically, as I mentioned, you can hit record, you can capture the traffic this way. We can then turn that into a test, as I'll show you in a second. Or you can go in and start building those steps from scratch, as I showed you. So you have that ability to just clicking through things. And then you also can code it, or you can go capture it from Fiddler and import it. So there's a lot of different ways to basically create these tests, and different combinations of things you can put together. But just to show you a couple things here on the recording part, you do have some column level filters. So if I wanted to just kind of trim this down to a particular API or to a particular URL or something like that, or use any kind of operators as well to sort of trim the traffic, then I can actually make some selections here and using that multi-select, and then I can actually take those and add them to a new test or to an existing test. So like if I was to add this to a new test, it's taken that recorded traffic and built those into steps for me and broken everything out into all the settings, like the headers and the authorization piece. Well, that wasn't anything, but the body and the settings and so forth. So that's an easy way to just get things started, is using that recording and capturing, and then sort of translating into test steps from there that you can execute.
So quick question here, Andy. When you hit record, like what is it recording? Is it any traffic pertaining to this project, or like more like a proxy?
It's just more like proxy. It's basically like turning on Fiddler Cap and just pulling in the traffic on that local machine. So.
Got it. And I posted the link to Fiddler because that's kind of what essentially you're driving this off, right? So this is a lot of what Fiddler core does, and you can embed this type of functionality in your dashboards to enable network traffic capture.
Yep. And even pull in those SAZ files that you've captured in Fiddler. So, whoops, except for that one. I forgot I moved that one.
Just not that one. Not that far from Andy's hard disk.
There we go. Oh, not that one either. Okay, the whole file's missing. Oh, well. There's my demo snafu for the week, I guess.
Yeah. Cool. You aren't trying enough unless you have like a few demo failures every week.
Oh yeah, for sure. Failure, genius by failure. I like to call
it. For me, like I measure my success by how much. Like I'm on a MacBook Pro for my dev machine. I have like a Windows box as well. So when I'm streaming, my like the Mac power adapters are like 94 kilowatt. No, not kilowatt, just watt. Our battery packs that are inside, and the charging is just not a whole lot. So even when you're fully plugged in, when you're streaming, when you're doing something super heavy and you're running a VM, your battery level starts falling. Oh, and I measure my success. Like if I have come down to like 20%, like the laptop is not just going to just die because it is still plugged in, but you can see like the amount of power it's consuming, the fans just cannot keep up. So if I have gotten down to like 25% while I'm plugged in, I know I'm pushing my computers enough.
Man, that's what's the backup plan, I guess?
There is none. If you run out of juice while you're plugged in, there is none.
The stream ends.
Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. You live on the edge. That's awesome.
Yeah, we try. Cool. So shall we switch gears a little bit and now put maybe Rick into a bit of a fix? But I can actually try setting this up a little bit. Thank you so much, Andy, for that. It's up to you, Andy, if you want to keep hanging out with the four stooges here, or if you have meetings, it's up to you. So speaking of APIs,
I will say goodbye. Actually, I appreciate it. I do have to jump into another one.
All right. Thank you so much for everything from this week, Andy.
Best of luck. Yeah, great job, Sam.
Okay, so let's switch. Hang on, and we got Andy down, and you don't want to see my Outlook. Let me close a bunch of things. Where is my desktop? There it is. Okay. So instead of Rick staying in his comfort zone, let's throw him a curveball.
Oh, no.
nothing like doing something live on stream, which you have no idea or haven't played with at all. And actually, neither have I recently. But I did something a while back, so I just remembered I had an API. So let me show you this. And this is kind of fun to kickstart like a demo or, any type of sample project that you're working on, and you want some like sample data to play around with. And that's kind of what we devs are always doing. We are reaching out to like these bizarre endpoints and just trying to fetch some fake data that we can show. So we did a thing called a love connection a while back. It was actually Eva in the chat room and Cindy, if she's in the bathroom, it was their idea, so blame them. But we did a stream around Valentine's Day, and we kind of broke off in two teams. One team did all kinds of lovey-dovey things, and then we went dark with some kind of like a floral shop, which was selling flowers, but some of them were kind of like hurtful flowers in terms of like how poisonous they might be, or plants. And then we also had some weapons. So I still have this out here. It's called like Valentine Grinch. And what it is here is, if you look at db.json, it's just completely random data. And what I have here is just pure JSON. I have some arrangements, which I'm not even sure if some of the URLs are still valid, but it's just JSON. So I have arrangements which have the names of some like flower type arrangements. And then I have a URL for some of their displays, which let me check if like any of these things are valid, because they were just like random URLs off the internet. So there should be an image to most of them. Yeah, so again, I mean, some of them are and most of them I think are like public APIs, so there's no problem in using the images. We're just doing this for demos anyways. So we have arrangements, we have some cacti. I don't know if cactus is a word. I think it's cacti. But then we have some things that are touch me nots. These are the ones that you actually do not want to touch. The stinging nettle, I think, is a North America or South America based plant. And then hogweeds, gimpy. I don't know what these are, but apparently you don't want to touch them because they might give you a rash. And then these are the horror weapons. These are kind of going off. We had a guest, which was actually Chris DeMars. He's an accessibility expert. He joined us, and he's into horror genre. So we kind of honored him by bringing in horror weapons. These are some of the kind of like famous horror movies, or kind of the slasher type movies, and some of the famous weapons that have been used to kind of, hurt people. So that's my API. And normally when you have JSON or any type of data, like envision this being pulled from a database, you have to do a few steps. Like at the very least, you have to have like an ASP.NET Web API project, and you have to do a get and a put and a post. And you can do all of that, but some of this can actually be done for you pretty much free if you just want to quickly spin this up. So I really like this project here. It's an open source project. It's called JSON Placeholder. I use their services a lot for any type of just random JSON testing. And you can take a look at some of their endpoints. Like if you are into like a blog type article or a feed that you want, they have like posts and comments. If you go into posts, like they give you stuff in Latin, which is fun. But they also have a thing where they can actually host your JSON. I think it's the JSON server one, or maybe the LowDB one. I'm forgetting. Maybe it is the JSON server. Yeah, so this is the one. And what they do is they just do a little bit of magic to read something out of your GitHub repo. So this one here, this db.json is just sitting on my one of my repos. They can actually read off that. So it's just called my JSON server. So look this up. And then that's it. They can read your JSON and expose that as an API. So this is just really easy to test. So with that, I can go to, actually I have the URL right here. So my JSON server, typicode.com, which is what they recommend. And then you go whack user, whack repo, and then whatever you need. So if I go down to the Valentine's Grinch, I don't have to do anything. They just automatically give me that API. And then I have my arrangements, my cacti, and my touch me nots. And each of them is is a JSON feed, right? So you right away, you just have a playground. And since we are talking APIs here, let me bring up Fiddler and see what that does. So bear with me here. I'm going to bring out Fiddler Everywhere, which has the Mac version. And let's see if we can play around with some of this stuff. So if I go to, let's say, the arrangements here, I'm going to copy that URL. And Fiddler has so many things going for it. Obviously, it is a network proxy. It will capture everything, but it can also be an autoresponder. It can also let you look into HTTPS traffic. So if I go into Composer, and I have never actually tried this, but it should work. So this one here is just an API testing tool. So this one lets you do get, post, put, delete, trace. I don't know what trace is. Prop find. I don't know what that is either. But most of your HTTP verbs are covered, and looks like we can do. Oh, we can do HTTP2 now. Eve Torzillo was joining us yesterday, and she had said this may be coming, but looks like maybe it's already here. Okay, so if I do an execute, I think it will fire up, and there you go. So it has like the request that went out. I think like this top portion is the request, and then this is the response. So the user agent is set as Fiddler Everywhere. No other params. Yeah, it's just nothing else in here. Nothing in the request per se. Just that. Oh, the content type is application JSON. Looks like it figured that out from the get call. And then you have the body, which is automatically, since it gave us spec JSON, it just knows what it is. So it's nicely formatted for you. So that's just a quick piece of JSON coming back. I think, let me take a look at the headers here. So it knows that gave us a whole bunch of things. I don't know. Oh, it looks like they're hosted on Cloudflare. Haha. That application.json, that's just telling us the content type. And I think this one does support, like I can do like one to get to the first one, I think. Yeah. So it can do that. I don't know if it will do any type of parameters. Maybe. Maybe we could do, how would you do a question mark, right? Our type. I don't know, because if they do support this or not. Equals tulips. No. Well, it didn't fail. Like, hang on, where am I seeing the? Oh, it is a 200, right? So it didn't completely fail on me. It just didn't like the thing. So I don't know if they actually support parameters like this. Yeah. And I can just hit enter to execute. Now the nice thing is I can do all of this in Fiddler, but then I can also do the same thing on the web. So right here is the new thing that we have talked about. That is Fiddler Jam, which is a way for you to quickly see what your users are, your non-technical users are experiencing without having them install something. And that's just a Chrome extension. So I can power this up and it'll just capture traffic for that tab in particular. So if I do capture again, and then I can start the capture, it has started, and I can refresh this. And looks like it is done capturing. So we're going to stop this. One session captured. Get the link. What it does, it just captures the entire session that was done. And we have that copied. And we can open this up. No, not that. Where's the link? Give me the link. Copy the link. And we go in here. And it should give us what the traffic was for that tab, which you see the arrangements, and this one's the header. Is it showing the body? Yeah, it is showing the body. So right here in your browser itself, that Fiddler Jam session is capturing all of that. And I think I've never done this, but I think I can just copy this and open in Fiddler. Yes, open in Fiddler Everywhere, loading a jam session. Look at that. So right here is your session. And again, if you can envision your users doing this for your applications, you get all of their requests going in and out, and excuse me, like what the request headers were, and this is the request body that's in JSON. So you have a way to very quickly test out APIs, and also while your users are using your application, be able to quickly record what they are seeing in their session. I don't know, cookie storing disabled. Okay. Yeah, Rick, does any of this, shall we tinker anymore? But do you see the API that I have for you? You feel confident that my RESTful endpoint is going to stand up? Do you hammering on it?
Well, I'll do the best I can not to completely destroy it. But yeah, it looks like we can definitely play with that a little bit.
I think, no, before you try to pull this in report, I think they actually do CRUD. So I've never tried this, but what the heck? Let's try. So if I go in here and do a post, hey, let me do the params. No, I don't know actually how they want us to post. Oh, maybe I can grab one of these things. This might completely fail. So we have 1, 2, 3 up to 10, right? So what if I wonder if we have to do anything different, or does it just work? So 10, the name is Rick's. I don't know if we'll get confused with the apostrophe. This is a flower just for Rick. Flower type tulips is fine. It, whatever, URL, it has a URL. Okay, I don't know. Will this work? It is still marked as a post. Okay, well, let's execute. It did. It's a 201. Isn't a 201 like an insert?
I think so.
Let's see. Get arrangements, execute. And no. Where is Rick's bouquet?
Well, it could be that the front end piece is working, but there's it may not be actually anything persisting that to your permanent storage behind it.
That's
so
true.
It may have accepted the request and then just done nothing with it.
Yeah.
Which, given there's no authentication on this,
there's nothing on it.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah. Let me take a look here. They had said something about how they persist. Let me see. Getting started. Singular, pagination, sort, slice. They have a lot of things built in. Operators, full text search, relationships, extras. They can do a CLI. Come on, where is your stuff for inserts? Yeah, maybe they don't talk about it. Yeah, maybe it's just a like the thing they recognize, but they didn't do anything with it. Because that'll mean actually going into your GitHub repo and writing to that JSON file, which I don't know. Okay, so Rick, are you ready for me to punt this over to you?
Yeah, I think we can play around with some of this data a little bit in reporting and see what we can make.
Okay. So I'm going to give you the URL here. Hang on, if I can. So that's the Valentine's Grinch, because we don't like Valentine's Day. No, I think we ended up saying we are okay with Valentine's Day, just not the commercialization part of it.
I think that's where we landed on that one. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have an API that's giving you some JSON back. Now, if you pick this up from report server, would you be able to consume the JSON?
Sure.
Or reporting as well.
Yes, I definitely think in Telerik Reporting we can connect up to that data source and use some of the tools that the editor gives you to sort of rapidly iterate on a report and kind of see what we can build. Do you want me to go ahead and share my screen and we'll
whenever you're ready.
We'll see what kind of trouble we can get into.
Yeah, why not?
Let's see.
And all along, Misha is like, guys, you need to write some unit tests. You guys are going to fail remarkably.
I absolutely agree, yeah.
Yeah, we could have done our regular demos, but we were getting a little bored, so I just thought we'll throw a curveball and play around with some different APIs.
So let's try creating just a blank report, because I really have no idea what this thing is going to look like, and we're just going to be experimenting. If I had a grand vision for what I wanted to build, we could then use one of our templates and get all the prettiness done for us. But I think we just need to play a little bit with the data source. So let's I'm going to save this. Ooh, that's not the wrong URL.
Like starting everything from scratch live on the stream, Rick, I'll be impressed if you can show the text on a report and maybe grouping, because I know you were showing off grouping with your Ducks and Stooges thing.
Oh, give me a challenge, Sam.
Okay.
Okay, so Valentine Grinch report. I'm actually going to save this to the reports folder for our .NET 6 Blazor integration demo. So if we want to, we can open up this in the web designer at some point and experiment with it there. Okay, so this is what you get basically when you create a brand new report. It's kind of a blank slate to kind of do whatever you want with. So let's take a look at the data you sent me. Now, for anything more complicated than just looking at a simple get with query parameters, I would of course open Fiddler and start experimenting like you did, Sam. But for this, I just want to see what I can really do with this. So
yeah, see, one quick second here. Rick says it right there. I forgot. Changes aren't persistent between calls. Look, so I don't know what that means. Will they do CRUD or?
I'm not sure either.
Yeah.
But one thing that's worth noting is from an API standpoint, Telerik Reporting actually overloads the EDO.NET CRUD data connectors. So we kind of have, from a hard-coded standpoint, the guarantee that nothing in reporting will change your data. So as much as you might want me to, I can't change your data source from inside of a reporting editor. There's absolutely no call you can put in that will change the data, because you want to report on your data. You don't want to change your data.
Yeah.
So
and that's how it should be. Reporting is to report on data.
So you can
visualize your data. Yeah,
exactly. You can hack reporting all you want, but the underlying calls that it's making have been stripped of the ability to do any kind of updating. So that would have been a dead end to begin with.
we will not let you shoot yourself in your foot.
No, we won't let anyone else do it either. Okay, so let's start with the flower arrangements. We'll start, and I think this is. So what I'm looking for here is I'm just looking at the composition of your JSON data. I'm seeing if there's a data data source data name field, which there isn't. It's single arrangements, and I'm going to check and see if it supports query parameters like that. Yeah. So it does. Okay, so this just gives me an idea of my URL that I have to build. So let me go ahead and copy this out of the page, and we will move that off screen.
Now, before you start going down the arrangements, would you rather have a little bit more fun to the weapons?
We can try that one as well. Let me go back and open that up. Horror weapons. So we have a name, an ID, a name, and a URL. Okay, so there's nothing here I could group by per se.
Oh, that's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
If you wanted to show grouping,
that's true.
I couldn't do it with this data set unless we want a group of one item, and then.
Let's go back to arrangements then. Yeah.
I think we have time that we can visit both. And actually, because the names are consistent, maybe we can try hot swapping the data source and seeing what happens at some point. That's a neat trick. If you guarantee sort of consistent modeling behind reporting, you can kind of hot swap your data sources, and then the reporting engine is not going to care at all.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is we're going to use a web service data source, which is actually going to be connecting over the internet to your JSON server. If you just wanted to copy in the explicit JSON, you could use a JSON data source and copy paste the JSON directly in. And that's good for sort of testing and things where you want to operate in offline mode, or build a report around static data first before you connect it up to your live data source. But we do things live here.
Yeah, Rick, before you go on, maybe another curveball question. Do you know what the cube data source was? I thought I knew, but I have forgotten.
Yeah, so the cube data source allows you to connect to effectively cube data, which is the data sources that back things like a pivot grid or a cross table, data sources that have 3 dimensions of data. It's created using a an OData cube object. It's not. I really haven't specialized in them either. It's a bit of a specialized data source. People who need to create these type of data structures, know all about it. And if you have a cube data source already, you can just connect to it directly, from here, and that can be used to connect to our crosstab, which is the reporting equivalent of a pivot table, effectively.
Interesting.
So you can have a representation of sort of 3D data that not only expands, along X and Y, but Z axes as well.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So you planted the URL.
Okay. So we put in the URL, and what we want to do is, let's see. So there's no authentication. We're doing a method type is get, so no body. It's JSON data. We don't have a data selector. That's what we confirmed earlier. So we'll go to the next page, and I do. Let's see. Well, actually, let's not do that yet. I'm going to not do a parameter yet because I want to see all the data when we're building this for the first time. So we'll go to the next page and we'll hit download. And
there you go. It did hit. Nice.
We can sanity check and see that we're actually getting something, which is good. Okay, so let's hit finish. And now we can see we have our web service data source here. And in the data explorer, we have that same data source and all of the fields. So let's start taking fields and dragging them into our report. Name and URL we'll put down here. Let's give that a little more room because that's going to be a long one.
Yeah.
And flower type we'll put up here next to name. I'm not making any care, to make this pretty. I just want to get the data in the report. And now
I just love the fact that, sorry to cut you off mid-sentence, but the fact that you don't have to do anything else. Once you have a data source, it's just drag and drop. And this is the drag and drop, by the way, folks, we enabled on the Blazor Report Designer as well. So you can do this on the web now as well.
Yes, that is a brand new feature, and I'm super happy that that's available because it makes the web report designer so much closer to feature parity with the standalone report designer. I mean, the ability to do everything I'm doing here, drag and drop and style rapidly, it makes it much more usable for everybody.
Yeah. So
we have some fields in the report now. So let's go ahead and hit preview and see what we get. And
there you go.
So we have a basic report. Actually, to be honest, I was trying to intentionally create a failure. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to make this fail because I wanted to show what a very common mistake most people will make when first building a report. So they'll end up with a report that looks like this, and you get a blank screen, and you say, "What the heck is going on? There's nothing here." So this sort of a pro tip. The data source has to be associated with a data object in the report. So for here, you would just go to data sources and select your web service data source that we created. And we do that because not only is a report a data bound item, we also have other data bound items in the report, namely a table, crosstab, and a list, which can, and all the charts too, which can each have their own separate data sources. So you kind of have to tell the report which data source you want to use for your binding. So that's just a one parameter, one property setting. We get back and, okay, so we're getting a report now, which doesn't look like much, but it's a step in the right direction. So we have this nice URL. I'm assuming there's an image that's behind that somewhere. So let's see if we can't actually visualize that. So we have a picture box item we can bring into our report. And the picture box is an incredibly versatile item. I don't know how they designed something so cool. This will basically visualize almost anything you want to give it. You can give it a file URL off of your local file system. It will handle that. You can point it to a remote URL like I'm about to do. It'll handle that fine. You can put encoded base64 image in here, and it will decode that into your image. And as of our R1 release, anyone who was with us then will remember you can actually directly copy SVG, scalar vector graphics data directly into the field for the picture box, and it will resolve that into a vector of infinite size and possibility.
I remember that from the last release, and this is a big deal because you want the reports to have full fidelity no matter how you're rendering it.
Absolutely. So we have something here. We have some pictures that are coming through, but we can't really see much. So what's going on here is that by default, the picture box is going to show the image in its full size, and it's going to clip anything that doesn't fit. So if I take this and I make it much bigger, we'll see more of the image. In this case, I want to sort of constrain it to the size of the picture box. So you go to the sizing properties, and you have a few different options here, but I like scale proportional. I don't want to accidentally skew my image, but it will scale it proportionally to fit within the bounds of this picture box. And we'll just take that, we'll put it over here for now, and we'll go back to preview. And the fact that you can just quickly toggle back and forth between design and preview, design and preview, make a step, make a change, go look at it, make a different change, go look at it. It really does facilitate sort of this rapid development, especially with someone like me who is not very design oriented. I've always said, I'm a programmer by trade. Don't ask me to make something look pretty, but it definitely helps people like me, be able to create reports, one small step at a time. So let's see. We have our ID, we have our name, we have our flower type. So I think we can take that and we can add grouping. So we're going to right click and go to groups and add a new group.
Wait, so were you going to group by, I'm just trying to look at the data here, because like all of the flower types are different. I'm just looking at the feed.
Are they?
Did you want me to, I can change it, I think.
Let's see. So you only have one of each flower in here, so one daisy, one carnation, lily. Okay, well, I mean, this is a sample data set, but in a real world data set, you would probably have more than one variety of tulip.
I can do that for you. So hang on, while you're doing this, while you're setting it up, I can go in the back end, and nothing like playing with live data, right? So I can fix it.
What could possibly go wrong?
Oh no. I'm not signed in, so GitHub is trying to give me an authentication code. So go ahead. I will fix it on the fly and give you maybe one more tulip to play around with. Where is my auth app? There you go, authenticator.
So I created my grouping just by going to groups, adding a group, and setting the groupings field to the field I want to group by, and hitting OK. Telerik Reporting is going to do everything else. Create a group header or a group footer for me. So what that does is that for each group, you're going to get one unique header and footer. And then within that group, you'll get one copy of the detail section for each item in the group. So since we want to have a group for tulips, we'll put our flower type in the group header. And we'll change the size of that a little bit. And let's see.
Look at that. So this is JSON. So I went directly in the JSON feed rec, and GitHub lets you change it like inline. So right in the thing itself, I made a change and pushed it out to main. So let me check the feed now. It should be good now. Let me check. And you were looking at the arrangements, right?
Arrangements, yes.
Did it persist? Oh no, is it cached? Because I made the change in the db.json.
Maybe try a full full cache clearing reset.
like if I go to the straight up pull up that URL that I just gave you just in your browser.
Yep.
Maybe it's just the service that needs to be blown away.
Yeah.
So not like this. So hang on. Let me show you the raw file. If I can post here. So go to the GitHub repo and the JSON file. So that is
Okay.
yeah. You don't have a way of copying it. Let me paste that in the private chat. So hang on 1 second. So try to click on the link that's in the private chat between us.
Okay.
And then you should be able to pull that browser in. So you see that now I got you like 2 tulips at the very beginning. So the data has it. You see the flower type, and the 1 and the 2 are tulips, and then also like towards the end, the last one, actually number 10, is also a tulip.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so the data has it, but you may need to do a refresh on, or maybe they have things cached. I don't know.
I think it might be cached in the service because I'm refreshing directly from the service and getting the same data. Oh wait,
no, it's showing up.
It just updated. There was a lag. There was a lag. We're good.
There you go. So now we have multiple tulips.
Okay, so many tulips. We're gonna get angry letters from the arborists. Well, I guess that'd be trees, florists, who are gonna argue that certain things aren't tulips. Okay, so where was I? So this is our flower arrangements, and I'm just creating some a little bit of styling around the report, and we'll just give it a.
So while you're doing this, Rick, guess who's lurking in the chat room? That's Sultan Burnham. Hey, Chris. So he's the man. He's the horror story or horror genre fan that we had to honor while we were building our flower shop. So yes, this is the same API that we're using, Chris. Chris is awesome. Chris is so awesome with accessibility and all types of modern web stuff and other types of apps as well. He's all in. But we are using the same API just in like a reporting way and trying to we mucked with the APIs a little bit, like from Fiddler, just trying to make sure the API works. And now Rick is trying to include that in a report. And this is a standalone desktop-based report designer for now, but we can enable the same functionality on the web nowadays. So fun stuff.
Absolutely. All I'm doing now is I'm using some of the features of the Standalone Report Designer to sort of select a field. Holding the Control key, you can click and drag it and move it and copy that field. It gives you all the same properties, which I utilize, same size and everything. And I'm just going to quickly change the text to make it from a bound field to a named field, text field. And let's see. We'll see what this looks like. I'm not using the group footer. So what I did is I went ahead and switched the visibility of that to false. And as a mental reminder, this is not going to be rendered. I usually take the bottom panel and I make it minimum size. And this kind of visually reminds me that, yes, it's in the designer, but it won't be rendered to the actual report. This is a little trick that I use.
Yeah. And Rick, like since we have maybe Chris hanging out with us, we may have to do that hot swap of our data source and see if we can present the weapons while we have flowers. Because it's the same, like the JSON has the same entity names, like name and URL, I think.
It will. It'll fall down on the flower type field. So I'll have to remove that and take the grouping out. But the name, ID, and image URL fields will all work. So we can do a little regression and test that. And let's see. I think that's probably enough to test it. So I've probably done enough here that it merits testing.
Okay, we got tulips. Oh yeah, the tulips are grouped together now.
So yeah, looks like we have some tulips, and let's make this a little more legible as to what's going on here. So let's go into the style. We'll just make this bold. We'll increase the size just a little bit, and that's probably good enough. Give this a little more real estate to play with. And
your expression for the group is just like tied to the flower type, and that's just a grouped element.
absolutely. Actually, it was just really just click and just double click. So under expressions, you just pick the one you want to use, and I picked flower type, which is great for me, who manages to misspell the most trivial words when I'm live on the air.
Right. All right. Yeah.
Okay. So
there you go.
There we go. Not bad. Yeah. Maybe make these bold. You can also select multiple fields if you want to apply common styling. So for ID and name, I just want to make both of them bold. So you can do that kind of all at once. It makes it a little faster to set up things like this.
This is nice. Yeah.
Okay, so you want to try hot swapping over to the other one?
Why not? So
okay.
Let's take out the flower type, right?
So I'm going to take out the flower type, and I'm going to actually just remove the group because we're no longer grouping. So now we're back to a non-group report.
Keep the header as flower arrangements, because why not?
Okay. Let's.
There you go.
Okay, so I'm just going back over here to find the. Oh, that's the wrong page. Going back over to get the URL.
It's called horror weapons.
Horror weapons.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Okay, so we'll copy that one. Okay, so we're going to go to our web service data source and go to configure. We'll just paste in the new URL. I'm not even going to check. I'm just going to hit finish, and we'll see what we'll see what happens.
Like you said, like the reporting engine should not care. There it is.
The demo gods are on my side today after totally derailing me yesterday. So
yeah, this is so much fun. Like, we totally put you on a fix by giving you a API that you did not know existed before you came live on the internet. But here you are with the report, and you're showing stuff.
I'm going to create just a little more space. So what you can do is, reporting is all page-based. If you, I don't know if it's showing up well on the stream, but along the top and the side here, ours is a ruler in inches. So that kind of gives you a rough idea what this will look like. So I can actually take this and I can bring it over to about 7.5 inches or so. When you get to a spot where it's only going to render on a printed page with all your settings, it's going to give you this little warning in the corner that says this is too wide to fit on a single page. If you try and print it out, there isn't physically enough space. But I'm going to give as much space as I can before I get that error, which is 6.5 inches with 1-inch margins. I could get more space if I decrease the margins.
See, these are such unique things to reporting, because like you don't think about these things in normal app dev, but here your width and your margins matter because somebody might want to print this report.
Absolutely. And so that one thing we can do to kind of show that is we'll go to our page footer here, put in a new text box, and real quick, I'm actually have to do some coding live. We're going to do page. Oh, sorry, this is a string. So page plus. Now we're going to go to our global constants and find page number. Double click to add that. Plus space of space plus page count. So what this gives us is our page 1 of 1 of n, page 2 of n.
And how are these expressions tied to the data source? Like, how will it know at runtime?
So these are the page number and page count here from global objects are our global expressions. So the way reporting works is sort of at runtime, when the report is being inflated, it takes the report definition, which is what we're building now. It takes the data, it combines them, and it figures out sort of the size of everything. So it knows the sizes of this section. Oh, I'm sorry, I can't click on it now. The details section, it knows the size of our picture box. And then it figures out how many records of data that we have. It calculates the grouping. It does a lot of math incredibly quickly and goes, I need 4.5 pages to fully render this data. So then it can go back and it can populate all those global objects like page count and page number and insert those into the report. So everything's all based around pages, because ultimately the guarantee of reporting is that regardless of how you choose to view this, how you render it, whether you view it on a screen, print it to off of your printer, export it to a PDF, export it to Word, it's going to look the same.
The consistency, the fidelity you want to maintain. Yeah,
absolutely.
No, sorry, go on.
Oh, I mean, we'll always have our image here, to the right of the name. We'll, always
Right.
have our page footer, over here below this. Nothing will get pushed to another line,
Yeah.
So that's the difference between reporting, which has that guarantee of a page-based setup and a dashboarding solution like Kendo UI, where you don't necessarily have that guarantee that when you print it, it's going to look exactly the same, because it was never really designed with the intent, explicitly of printing.
Yeah. Now, this is why reporting is difficult. This is like you're seeing some of the things that we pull off. Oh, there you go, page 1 of 2. There you
Page
go.
1 of 2. This is
Nice.
this is also our interactive view, sort of here in the browser, in the editor. If you want to see what it would look like when it actually comes out of a printer, you can switch to print preview, and it gives you this, this idea. So now you notice that we have 4 pages.
Pages,
so I needed to add a space after the page.
No, but it works. Yeah.
Yep, bad in here.
Nice.
So yeah, it gives you an idea what it will look like when it comes out of the printer here. But if it's only going to be consumed on the web, you can use sort of the interactive view here, which basically acts like one long page, a page of infinite height, more or less. So we can go back and I'm just going to fix that real quick.
While you're doing that, I'm going to copy this URL and post this as a homework for all you folks watching. Okay, go take a look at that feed, and if you do not know these horror weapons or these movies, you got to watch them all this weekend.
Absolutely. I wish you could do a contest for who could name the most, live in the chat or something.
Yeah, Chris will know them all.
Yeah,
I don't think I've seen all of them. Like the last one, like with the share. I don't know what Cropsy's share. I don't know what movie that is out of, actually.
I'm not sure. I mean, what Cropsy's share? That wouldn't be Children of the Corn, would it?
Yeah, Chris, help us out. I don't know what that is. The other ones are pretty famous, like the Phantom's Opera, the Sweeney Todd's Razor. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, how are we doing on time? Do we have time to parameterize?
I think so. So let me ask you, Misha is like turning in his chair like, guys, you need to test your stuff. Misha, do you want to share something?
Yeah, I have what to show.
Oh, okay. So we could give maybe Misha some airtime here to try maybe testing some of our stuff in JustMock. And then if you have a little bit of time, we can come back, Rick, and maybe try to parameterize in this. But before we switch gears, let me throw you one more curveball.
Okay.
So this whole thing has now been saved as a TRDP file, correct?
Yes, it has. ValentineGrinch.trdp. That's the Telerik Reporting Definition Package.
Okay. Here's a curveball. Do you still have the Blazor project where you're loading it up from your local host or your local machine?
You mean this one?
Yeah. Can you pull this up?
I think I know where you're going with this. So the folder that I chose when I was building this project just happened to be the folder the virtual folder that synchronizes with this application. So the report itself was saved into this folder in the reports folder under the server side part of the Blazor WebAssembly. So if we go to our web-based report designer here, we're initially seeing the default on undammable Chuck Norris joke generator, but I think we can go to the menu and select open, and we're gonna see our Valentine Grinch report.
This is beautiful. Look at that. Exactly what you did. And the beauty of this is like you are doing, like this is a Blazor app, but it's looking at that folder. So you can throw in whatever reports in there, and it will pick it up, let you design, and let you render. This is beautiful.
So here's that exact same report rendered in the web-based report designer. And we also have in the same folder, in the same application, we have the report viewer built in with the home build selector. So you can just put in the name of the report and hit refresh, and this will load the report, and this would be what it would look like for the end user. And from here, you could export it to PDF or any of the rendering formats. If we quickly do a PDF export and let it download.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see, open in Adobe. Here's
Look
what
at
it looks
that.
like when it comes out. We'll just
Look at that, and this should still
100%.
have the page numbers. Nice.
Page 104.
See, this is so beautiful. This is kind of what I was trying to get to. Like, this is the whole life cycle. Like, you go from somebody having some data in a database, exposing that out as a RESTful API service, then building an app on top of it. That maybe is however you're building an app, and then reporting on it inside of your app, building a report, designing it, pulling in the data, doing grouping, sorting, filtering, arranging it in a nice page so you can print, and then you can do this from the desktop, you can do this from the web, and you're giving more power to your power users for your web app, and at the same time you have those files locally, so you can at any time come in the backend and change anything with the reports and just fix it up.
Absolutely.
This is beautiful.
It totally facilitates, a team-based, environment, because you can imagine a workflow where someone like me comes in and designs the report, does all the work of the data binding, hooking up to the data source and adding the fields we want, but then passes it off and says, hey Sam, go into the web-based report designer, open the Grinch Valentine report, and make it not look horrible. And then,
this is amazing. Yeah. And while we're talking, Chris did post that movie was from the movie Proxy, which I have not seen. I should go watch that. I will tell you one thing, Rick. I don't know if you're into this, but we are kind of new homeowners, and the whole like power tools thing, it's just addictive once you start getting into it. Like between a mower and a trimmer and a blower, like I feel like I can chop down everything, even the stuff I probably should not. But yeah, it's enticing when you get into some of these tools.
Well, the good thing is most things tend to grow back, so have at it.
Oh, and Chris, I know also bought a place. So congratulations, Chris. Yeah, there are so many tools. It's such an industry, and I'm going with like gasless. It's all battery, and I have like these like 40-volt batteries. They are strong. And like accidental amputations are a thing, like especially with you're using a trimmer. Don't just wear your flip flops. You need to be careful what you're doing.
Yeah, you need your PPE.
Yeah. All right, this is awesome stuff, Rick, and we might be able to come back to this. But Misho, do you want to take the stage? Show us some stuff. You're still muted.
Oh yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow.
So let us know once you're ready to share your desktop.
Yeah, just a second.
There, I see it. Yay, JustMock.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, let me hit that hide button.
Yep.
Okay, so JustMock. For those of you that don't know, let me show actually the product page of JustMock for a second. JustMock is a mocking framework for .NET, and it is very powerful and can literally mock everything. Like one of the most interesting things is non-public members, meaning internal, private, protected methods, properties, classes, everything, like literally everything. It can also mock static classes, static properties, methods. It can also create a mocking behavior in the future. Let's say you could have some kind of class that could be created in the future, and you can make your arrangements and call the ignore instance method, and by doing this you will arrange it for all of the instances of the calculus class. And another thing that it's very interesting is that you can directly mock the MS lib members, like everything from the system namespace. And here the example is by mocking datetime now, which will return the expected date. Let's say this is very useful when you want to test your trial functionality for your product. You will probably use the datetime now, and by mocking it, you would have a very, very robust unit test for that. Of course, entity framework and a lot of other stuff. Actually, we have a full list of the features that can be mocked, and with what we can integrate and stuff like that. And yeah, if you're interested, you can go and check the product page.
Yeah, and I also like the integrations things. It's not just Visual Studio. Like you can do this on VS Code, IntelliTress, JetBrains, Writer. Yeah. So however you're writing your unit tests.
Yeah, and let me remove that and get back now to our current release, which is R2 2021, and with our previous release R1 2021, we implemented performance optimization, which is using a configuration where you can specify only the DLLs or only the classes and namespaces which you want to mock, and by doing this to limit on the impact of the JustMock profiler, and this will speed up your unit tests. With this release, we continue the enhancement of the JustMock profiler by optimizing the way our functionality for managing the life cycle of the mocked objects is done, and the optimization is in the process of filtering all of the DLLs that are related to the unit test and that are actually containing unit test and all others, and we improve the way we insert the code for all of the unit tests DLLs. And with that, we achieved on average about 7% increase in the performance.
Nice.
Yeah, we are doing this because we know everybody wants everything to work fast, and we are determined to speed up the work of JustMock. And yeah, we will continue. We have a few ideas on how we can further improve the performance, but for now, I'll keep it a secret because we need a bit of a research to see if this is actually possible from a technical point of view. And another thing is the debug window, which I can show you now.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, so I will just start the debugging.
Your fonts are too small, Michel.
My fonts are too small.
Yeah.
Just a second. Okay, can you see it now? Let me remove that.
Yes, much better.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're in Visual Studio, and what framework are you using? I see a Test Explorer. Is this any testing framework you're using?
The testing framework is MS Test 2. Yeah, and actually this project is from the examples of JustMock, which you can find. Just let me show quickly in the program progress JustMock examples. And
so when somebody new goes in and just downloads a trial of JustMock, like that's the thing that they will get.
Yeah, you get that. Actually, I'm currently with the dev version, but the trial version is the same, only with the limitation of the trial.
Sure.
When the limitations are bound to a time for which you can use the product.
Yeah. And is there Misha, is there an installer that gives us this debug window, like as an extension in Visual Studio?
Yeah, actually, when you install JustMock,
it does it.
Yeah, when you install JustMock, just let me show. Yeah, when you install JustMock, you have in extensions you have JustMock, and you can go debug show. But at this point, because we are not in the debug mode, it says that it's connected to the service that is responsible for that window, but you're not in debug mode and you can see anything at this point. So I will now start the debug and show you why we created this window. And yeah, I will talk why. The reason is because sometimes when you create a mock and you want to this mock to, let's say you arrange a mock in a certain way that it returns a specific value, and sometimes actually when you execute that method and it doesn't return the desired value, and you wonder why. And this is why we designed this this window to show you that information. Okay, so for this example, we are using the full suite internal class, which is suite class, and which you can mock. And we are arranging the echo method, which is accepting 2 arguments. So it is pretty simple example, but it demonstrates what we can do. For this arrangement, we are using the isAny argument matcher, and this means that any argument that it's integer and it is used to call that echo method, it will be accepted and it will be intercepted, and that method, that invocation will return what we expect, and we are expecting to return a value of 10. And yeah, the first argument it is integer, and the second argument it is string. There is 2 ways you can do that. You can use, of course, the arc.isAny integer.
So, Misha, take us back to the echo method one more time. Like, what is it doing with the integer and the string?
Well, actually, this is pretty.
It's just returning the first one.
Yeah, it is returning the first argument. Actually, for the purpose of the example, it doesn't matter what is actually doing, because when you make the arrangement, all of that logic that is inside echo, it won't be executed if you don't want to call the original code. So for this particular example, we are arranging the echo method to return the value of 10.
Okay. Oh, so this is where, like, what's in the method doesn't matter. You're literally trying to mock that method out and just return the expected. That's 10. Yes. Okay.
Absolutely, it doesn't matter. And what JustMock do is when the echo method starts to be compiled from the CLR, JustMock inserts a few lines of code that is checking if you have some arrangement about that method. It will execute the logic that you want. And if it doesn't have any arrangement, it will execute the actual real logic. Of course, you can have, let me just show it. Here. You can create your mock with the co-original behavior, and by default, all of the code from the full class will be executing the original code, meaning that this code matters, which is here. Yeah, and you have different options that you can use here. And the default one is recursive rules that will create mock recursive object for everything that is nested. Let's say if full has a property, something like full, not false, full dot bar dot something else. If that exists, everything will have recursive mock for everything. Like bar will have a separate mock, something else will have another mock, and yeah.
Okay, so when you did I see the debug window? Because like now that is supposed to show you the arguments, right?
Yeah, but actually I exited the debug mode,
Okay.
and I will just start it again. And yeah, but you can notice that actually in the acting phase of the unit test, we are calling a different kind of method which accepts just one argument. And I will show how this will impact the whole unit test. So for this arrangement, we have arranged the echo method that is accepting two arguments. We will call only the method that accepts only one argument, and of course we haven't arranged that method. It will return the value. It will execute the original logic, which is arg1. Actually, that's not true, because here we didn't preserve the co-original method, meaning that it will return the default value of the returning value of echo, which is integer. So let's show the debug window. Can you see the debug window?
Yes, yeah, we can see.
Yeah.
No,
Okay.
wait, is it just the one below, or is it a floating window somewhere else? It's the one below, right?
It is that window. Yeah. So we have created the mock. We can see that there is some arrangement, and after we execute the arrangement, you can see that a mock is shown for the echo, and in the argument matchers, you can see what is actually being done. And for the first argument, which is this one, you can see that the matcher type is byte type, because it can be by value, and the expression is any integer. And the argument type is int32, and the argument name.
Yep.
And yeah, you can see another argument that is string, and is again with is any. You can notice that for both of them, the expression is any. This is because arg any string will be converted. It's a kind of code sugar. It will be converted to is any of string. Yeah, we have created this just for helping the developer to write the unit test a bit faster. And so what we expect is that we will call this echo method with the two arguments, but we made a mistake. And what we can see in the invocations is that we have only one invocation, which is correct, but the arguments is just one. So if we continue, of course, the test will fail. And our expected value is 10. The actual value is the default one of the return type of the echo. So this will help us just to matching both things. We have an invocation with just one argument. Okay, so but we have made an arrangement of method with two arguments, meaning that we have made the wrong arrangement, or we didn't actually receive any calls to the echo method with two arguments, meaning that something along the logic is broken, and there is no call to that echo method. To show you that, yeah, you may have made a wrong arrangement, and by just deleting that, we will fix the issue. I will rebuild it.
Yeah, and I can see how the debug window kind of shows you all those all the arguments. That's helpful for developers. Like, you know exactly why your tests.
Yeah, you know exactly what you have arranged, and you can see what is actually invoked as a code. So now I'll just run it. And can you see that? I think it's a bit small. And we can see that the test will actually pass because we've made the correct arrangement.
Yeah, very cool, very cool. So there you have it, folks. JustMock for all your mocking needs, no matter pretty much any type of .NET code you're writing. I will just put you back in a spot, Misho, and make a public request. Make this work everywhere, not just in Visual Studio on Windows. I want this everywhere. I know you mentioned Linux, but I want it on the Mac.
I mentioned on the previous session that we will work this release to support Linux.
Nice. Very cool, very cool. All right, so we are almost at time here. We want to not take up maybe folks any more time, but Rick, I know you've been tinkering. Anything else you did to the report that you built? I saw a few, I think, colors that you added.
Yeah, I was just playing around and did a little styling in the background. I think
nice.
if you want to, I think you can put my screen up. Yeah. So just playing with some font and some colors, alternating row styles.
That's awesome, man.
These all come built into Windows, and this is nothing even. This is the Chiller font, which works very well for this report. I had some alternating row colors. I noticed dark, bloody red.
Very on point.
Change the font color, for the alternating one. You can actually see it.
How did you do the alternating colors?
So that's actually, it's quite simple. Built into the reporting, you have the concept of conditional formatting. For pretty much every item can be conditionally formatted. So for the report itself, what I did is I selected the details section here, which is that section in the middle that I wanted to change the coloring for. I went to my conditional formatting under appearance. And I created a rule. So basically, this is a rule style and stop if true, which would, if you have more than one rule, whether or not it just keeps cascading down or it stops when it gets to the first true. So I just use a little bit of programming logic. So you use the row number, which is another global syntax, another global variable value. Row 1, row 2, row 3.
Order even.
Modulus 2, which if everyone remembers their math, will either give a result of 0 or 1. And then basically, depending on whether you get a 0 or 1 for that rule, you apply the style. And in this case, the style is just a background color. I did the exact same thing for the text here, although I was able to, like I said, click on both of all the text fields and go to conditional formatting and set the style. Now here we have two styles, like I mentioned before. It's this on a red row we want white text, and on a white row we want red text, and so both rules will be applied. If I had checked one of these boxes, since this one is true, it would stop and not cascade to the next one. There are situations where you would want that. And then other than that, it was all just playing with different styles. Right click, go to the style, select your text and your fonts and your colors. I put some borders around things, and just messing around really. You can get something that looks kind of neat.
This is so brilliant because just with those rules, you're able to do some programmatic things, and you can really control the look and feel of your report. I love this.
Well, you need to play to your strengths. I'm a software guy by trade, so I'm gonna do everything in code. Do we have time for a quick parameter or?
Sure. Yeah, let's go for it.
Sure. Okay, so I can do this really quick. So we're going to go to our web service data source and reconfigure. Now, because this supports query parameters based on ID, we don't even have to do anything to the service URL. We're going to go to the next field and create a new parameter. Make sure it's set to query parameter. And since query parameters are inherently anonymous, you can put ID in here. It's just so you can remember the field it's binding against. You can see that it's still going to, for 1, we're going to get the first value. For 2, we're going to get the second value. I'm changing the design time values here, which is the value used in the designer, for showing data. But truly, you can put gobbledygook, in the name. It doesn't matter. It's anonymous. When it creates the URL, it's slash value. The name's not used at all, like a. Both my monitors just went black.
And looks like your camera froze.
Yeah, your camera froze.
We pushed the limits of ad hoc coding a little too much. Maybe Rick's connection froze overall. But he left us at a good spot. We'll give him maybe 10, 20 seconds to come back. But I mean, we're all also at time. But Misha, I don't know if you like this kind of stuff, but we essentially took something from just scratch, just data, made it into an API, and we can consume that from reporting from any app. So
yeah, that's cool. Awesome. I really loved it.
So this is fun. Back on our back channels, like I'm looking at stuff on Teams here. Rick is saying his laptop blue screened, so he's gone. It's not just his network; his laptop is like, I have had too much. Yeah. So glad at least we have you here, Misha. So I'm not left here alone. But folks, thank you for hanging out with us. This has been a great release, R2 release, and hopefully in the last 3 days you have seen us cover all things .NET, all things JavaScript, and I'm so glad this time around we took the time to cover all of our productivity stuff, which is so important to enterprise workflows, like what Misha showed you. Your unit testing, that's what gives you confidence as you go through your release cycles. We talked about reporting, that gives you the confidence and the ability to visualize your reports, build and design your reports on the desktop, on the web. And we talked about TestStudio, which is for automation. We talked about Fiddler, which is for looking in your network trace, work as a team, know what's going on when you are supporting your customers, what's going on in their network stack. So overall, hopefully you're seeing that we are trying to enable you all to be more successful. So with that, I think we are going to close things out here. But before we leave, maybe we can do a quick raid out to, let's see who else is on. C# Fritz is on. So we will do a quick raid to Fritz and hand you all of you folks to Fritz. But otherwise, thank you folks so much. Thank you. We appreciate you. And thanks for hanging out with us. Yeah. And we shall see you on the next stream. Stay well. Bye-bye.
Bye. See you.